It is a wet, ducky day here at Pull Start Stables, and we're working on the $100 Ameri-Barra Oldsmobile Bravada project. We received a check engine light at 137 miles. The old AutoZone fix finder says that the camshaft timing solenoid has failed. And since it's been sitting for a while, and since I don't know the history of oil change life, and since it's a part that seems to be compromised by dirty oil, we're going to take it out. We're going to see if we can clean it before we replace it. So if this doesn't work, it's actually a pretty cheap part to replace, but for the sake of this being a cheap vehicle to begin with, I'm just going to see what I can do to maintain things rather than replace anything it needs. And it is just that little guy right there. There's only one bolt that takes a 10mm socket right there that holds it in, except I do believe that the power steering pump reservoir will be in the way. Let's see if we can get this popped out, clean it up with some brake clean, and just see if it works again. Before I just start tearing into getting that out, I'm going to give it a little blast of brake clean and get some of the debris and gunk away from that hole in the engine. And just like that, I can see engine again instead of grime. We've got to pop this little clip up. That's just a safety retainer. And then we can remove our wiring. I'm also going to just get this one out of the way. Now I've got my 10mm socket on an extension and a swivel. Now I can just spin it right out. Now there's just an O-ring sealing that in there. So I'll see if I can pop it loose. And sure enough, my reservoir is definitely in the way. I'm gonna reach down there with my 3/8" ratchet, pop that in the tensioner. And on this one, using the ratchet to tighten or turn right, it takes the tension off the belt. This is also a good time to inspect the belt. Make sure that it's not too dry rotted and terrible. Now I'm going to use a 13mm socket and pop some of these mounting bolts loose. And I can reach right through the power steering pulley for that access. There's a few holes. Magnets are always handy with jobs like this. Now using my pry bar, I'm going to see if I can just rotate this thing back like so. And there we have it, a camshaft variable timing solenoid. I can see, let's see if we can focus. I believe this is where the oil comes in, and you can see that screen does have some debris. Now, for the sake of knowing, I clean this all out. I put a little bit of penetrating oil on there just to see if it would move. Things are rattling, but I'm going to energize this with 12 volts and see what happens. Cock-a-doodle-doo, roosters, cock-a-doodle-doo. That one sounds broken. It's moving in both times. So it must be a retracted state, and then it pushes out. And that selects whether we are advancing our cam or retarding our cam. Or maybe it starts off retarded and advances. I don't know. But it is working. I just don't know if I have my full range of motion. I don't know if it's clear, if it will work with what oil pressure I have. I do have an oil change prepared for this vehicle. If this works, I'm going to change the oil and give it a test drive. Well, now the only thing left to do is fire it up, give it a test drive, see how it runs, and see if that check engine light does go away. It was sluggish quite oftentimes from the start, quite often. And also when you were slowing down for like a stop sign or a stop light, it would kind of run rough. It would have a rough idle. And one time it stalled. My initial guess was that maybe it just needed a tune-up. So the VCT is controlling the exhaust cam because there's an intake cam and an exhaust cam. And the intake, that dang rooster, the intake cam is always on time with the ignition cycle, but the exhaust cam can vary based on the need for advance or retard timing, and that helps with acceleration, that helps with fuel economy at speed, it helps with all kinds of cool stuff, especially boost someday. And so it is a very important part of why this Atlas 4200 Ameri-Barra is kind of cool. Hey, check that out. No check engine light. Just like that. A little bit of brake clean, a little bit of verifying, and we don't have to spend no money on parts.